I have to have all, it has to be a quorum to vote, right? Where, how many members are there? We're putting two. Right. We should be okay, yeah, and we need a supermajority on the vote because of the written contest, so, yeah, yeah, we should be fine. Yep.
Just want to be legal.
Alrighty.
Right, right.
Okay. All ready?
Home to his mom's house. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So he's on the farm.
Where are we missing?
Who are we missing? David Kale. K-A-L-E.
Where's that?
It's 2 hours. Rochelle.
And then we have an open spot yet.
She's still on the farm. 94.
Oh,
Because this board is 7.
Awesome. Yeah, yeah. And then his brother's there. He's been retired from the police force for 10 years now. He's there pretty much to help you so much, but just to be there, I think.
okay. Good evening. Could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have a call to order. So the first business is the swearing in of the new members by the City Attorney, Susan Hess.
I, Justin Taylor, having been appointed to the East Dubuque Zoning Board of Appeals in the city of East Dubuque in the county of Joe Davies aforesaid, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Zoning Board of Appeals to the best of my ability. If you so swear, say I do. Robin, please stand and raise your right hand. I, Robin Pearson, having been appointed to the East Dubuque Zoning Board of Appeals in the city of East Dubuque in the county of Joe Davies aforesaid, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Illinois, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Zoning Board of Appeals to the best of my ability. And if you so swear, say I do.
I do.
Thank you and welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And at this time, we'll have the roll call. City Clerk Pam McCarthy.
Kale. Largent.
Here.
Lechner.
Here.
Pearson.
Here.
Redmond.
Here.
Taylor.
And at this time, we have established a quorum, and I am Dave Lechner. Okay, so reading of the legal notice. Public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals of the City of East Dubuque will be held on Thursday, August 3rd, 2023 at 6 p.m. at East Dubuque City Hall, 261 Centennial Ave, East Dubuque, Illinois, to consider the following application. Rezoning application request from the Iron Paw Properties LLC. Property is located at 20170 US Highway 20 West, East Dubuque, Joe Davies County, Illinois. Legal description, parcel ID number 0500096000. The Zoning Board of Appeals invites attendees, written comments from any East Dubuque resident. You are welcome to the City Hall with your comments or question, or you can call 815-747-3416. Information on the request is available for viewing at East Dubuque City Hall, 261 Centennial Ave, East Dubuque, Illinois. This is published July 19, 2023 and July 26, 2023 in the Galean Gazette for public notice. Explanation of the procedures and order of business. We'll be going through questions and comments from the members of the zoning board, from public comments in favor or opposed from our guests here tonight, and final comments from the zoning board. And then there will be some staff reporting and recommendation from the zoning administrator, finding in fact from individuals, Bob Seitz, Chairperson Dave Lechner, zoning ordinance sections, and any amendments. Discussion and possible recommendation to the City Council, and discussion passed to approve or disapprove. And we'll also hear from Mary and Tim Althouse. So I think we can begin that order of business. So, members of the zoning board, are there any questions?
Oh, wait.
We have to.
Right there, we need to have them come up.
Oh, yeah, Mary and Tim Althouse, will you make a presentation, please? Sorry.
Good evening. My name is Tim Althouse. My wife, Mary, and I are the owners of Family Beer and Liquor in East Dubuque, as well as the owners of the property at 20170 Highway 20, which we are asking the board to rezone for business use. A few points I'd like to share in support of our rezoning request. The property was previously zoned for business for decades, only being zoned residential after the long-term business owner retired and the business was closed. The property is located adjacent to an existing large retail business, which is Family Beer and Liquor. The location is on a 4-lane highway with a frontage road that is well designed to handle current business traffic with capacity for growth. And since a turn lane was added to the Highway 20 in 2010, to my knowledge, there has not been an injury accident at this intersection since. Regarding the impact on the neighboring properties, if rezoned business, the city would have to approve any business, site plan, and layout where concerns of neighboring properties would be addressed, which could include extension of the privacy fence between the two properties at the business owner's expense. Exterior lighting should be planned in such a way as to minimize light pollution toward neighboring properties. I would also encourage signage be required that would direct any eastbound traffic leaving said properties to use the frontage road for access to Highway 20, because it is much safer at the first frontage road intersection to the east, where cars have the ability to pause in the median before continuing east on Highway 20 and not having to cross both lanes of traffic at the same time. There is ample room for parking on this 1-acre parcel. with the likely size of a retail building on this property of less than 5,000 square feet, which would be smaller than 1/4 of the size of Family Beer and Liquor. Overflow parking, if it were needed, would be able to use the Family Beer and Liquor lot between our existing building and the frontage road. Currently, the dozen or so parking spots there are used for our employee parking, which could very easily be moved to the back or the side of the building. Regarding the value of neighboring homes being adversely affected by a business on this Highway 20 property, the fact that all of the neighboring homes are already within 50 to 150 feet of a large retail business, being Family Beer and Liquor, a second business would have minimal additional negative impact. Why does a retail business at this location benefit the city and its residents? The city sits within a very unique geographical footprint that is dominated by large bluffs on one side and railroad tracks on the other, greatly limiting zones for business development and the needed tax revenue those businesses generate for the city, not to mention the jobs that they can create. The property which we are asking to be rezoned for business use was formerly zoned for business. It sits next to a large retail store on a high-traffic 4-lane highway corridor with an intersection that was thankfully redesigned over a decade ago, which dramatically improved public safety. Regarding some misinformation that is circulating about me personally, well, I was the minority owner of a group that was trying to obtain a cannabis license for the Northwest Zone in the state of Illinois. It wasn't that we were denied a license, but rather we had an application that had a perfect score, but we were not lucky enough to obtain a license in the state's lottery system for awarding those licenses. Regarding the possible development of a dispensary at this location, we did not solicit any businesses to look at this property, but rather the East Dubuque City staff directed a cannabis company to contact us about a possible development on the property that we owned next to our existing business of Family Beer and Liquor. Once that initial contact occurred and the business was interested in proceeding with a potential site plan, we never hid the fact that there was a recreational dispensary interested in developing the property, nor did we do anything to subvert the proper zoning change request. We knew the property would have to be rezoned for business, which is why we are here this evening asking for that to happen. We respect the concerns of our neighbors and the homeowners, and we've always tried to be a good neighbor. No matter what the outcome of the zoning board's decision, we will do our absolute best to continue with our family's 40-year commitment to making East Dubuque a better place to live, work, and play. Thank you.
Questions and comments? Members of the zoning board? Any at this time? For Mary and Tim? Anyone? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comments in favor of this rezoning application? Everybody knows you, but you can state your name, please.
Yeah, my name is Steve O'Connell. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I work for Tim and Mary Family Beer. That's probably no secret. And we've had some communication, obviously, about what's going on tonight and the interest in the zoning changes. And through those communications, one of the things that he expressed was a concern with public safety, the traffic safety, the intersection. And that scared me right away when we use public safety as a term to try and change people's opinions. Because if public safety and traffic safety is relevant for this particular business change, and it's a reason for you to deny the change, then it becomes relevant for any and every future business that wants to develop down that corridor. So if you commit yourself to saying it's a traffic safety issue for this business, it's going to be a lingering hanger for you to put your hat on. You'll have to address that in the future again. So I wanted to make sure that I just pointed that out. You wonder why I'm here tonight specifically. I support business growth in East Dubuque, not any one in particular over another, because unfortunately, we're not here to make that decision tonight. We have a business venture, and we have to decide if that's the direction you want to go. Business ventures don't come every day to East Dubuque. And so when they do present themselves, they need to be carefully considered. As you know, I worked for the city for a long time, almost 25 years. And the city is in a better place now than they were years ago. We struggled 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I remember a year that I didn't get a pay raise because the city didn't have any money. I remember spending countless hours with city managers going through budgets and making up budgets, and then finding out that it was all in vain because there was no money when it came time to make purchases. And so we've brought ourselves to a position where we're better than we were back then, but we need to keep moving forward to make sure we don't go back to 2008. Those were difficult times for the city, and we definitely don't want to be there again. One thing that's probably in people's minds when they see me sitting here is I don't live in town. So what's my interest? My daughter just purchased a house here in East Dubuque. She's a third-generation family member to live here. Her mother grew up here, went to school here, and lived here. Both of her grandparents, born in East Dubuque, lived here and spent their whole lives. They still live at Ava. If I'm lucky, there'll be a fourth generation maybe in the future. And my interest lies in what's best for them. And what's best for them is a strong community, a great school district, and financial stability in the town. I don't want them to be taxed out of their home. I don't want them to have to make sacrifices based on taxing in the future. And we accomplish that by being fiscally responsible and looking at business growth and business development. The success of this community is going to be based on continued growth so that we can be financially sound and take care of the community. 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been sitting here. I couldn't see myself being involved in the business that's here and what's going to possibly come for you to decide upon. But the problem is that's the only decision you're getting to decide on. If there was 4 or 5 businesses wanting to come into that property, I would be telling you which one I thought was the best. But that's not the case. There's only one. And I don't remember the last time there was a business venture that came into town, and I don't know how long you'll have to wait for the next one when this one goes away, if it does. So we have to capitalize on what's brought to us and try and decide whether we can make it work for the community. The good news for you is that you're venturing into a business with Tim and Mary. I've known them for a long time. They've been good stewards of the community. They've been supportive of the community. Countless people come through that door daily. I see it firsthand because I work there. They have their hand out and they're asking for help. They have a fundraiser going, a family in need, nonprofits in the community, and I've never seen Tim say no. He's always been a family-oriented man, and they've given back to the community probably more than they needed to, but like I said, I've never seen him say no. I believe that their venture in this and in the future will continue to make the properties out there aesthetically pleasing. You can see what it looks like out there now. Tim's always maintained a professional-looking building. He doesn't let it get run down. He's always tried to be a good neighbor. I believe he will continue to make that neighborhood work successfully with the business that's there. And if this becomes a successful business, it'll become a success for East Dubuque. And that's why I'm here. I want East Dubuque successful. I want it to keep moving forward, and I want it to be a place that my daughter stays and my grandchildren hopefully stay as well. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in favor or have favorable comments for this application? If not at this time, we'll go to the comments of the opposed. Anybody here to oppose?
Hello, my name is Justin Otto. I live at the house at 20150 Highway 20 West. This is my wife Tara. I hope that you guys have had a chance to look over the petition and the letter that I sent in yesterday. I just wanted to kind of rebut some of the stuff that was told. We heard a lot about how to handle the eastbound traffic. We haven't had any kind of traffic evaluation or any kind of proper investigation on westbound traffic. That's the problem that the residents currently have. Anyone trying to turn west blocks the 3 driveways that go backwards in the congested intersection there during peak times of business hours. We got the school bus routes. There's 3 bus stops there within 100 feet of that property where we have to worry about child safety. We've had a lot of bad intersection accidents there, maybe not in the recent time, but plenty in the history of it. They still happen. I guess some of the stuff that I'm more concerned about is my family's safety. I mean, I got dogs, I got kids. They're in and out of the driveway, they're up and down the road, they ride bikes, they do all that kind of stuff. So I really question the infrastructure of what's there right now. There's no traffic signals, no road markings, no, one-way signs, and any of that kind of stuff. Secondly, as far as property interests go, I would have to question the fact that Tim stated that he thinks that there's a minimal property, responsibility to that. But when I talked to the county assessor, she told me I could lose up to 10 to 25% based on proximity. Now, I don't know if that's maybe minimal to some, but it's 25% of what my assessed value is not very minimal to me. I worked 28 years in a job to try to be able to afford something like this, have my family in a safe home, that I don't have to worry about excess traffic, neighbors, noise, lighting, any of that kind of stuff that would go along with a property like this. That's just really what it comes down to. I've worked a long time and very hard for this, to only, right to get to the point where I'm finally ahead on it, I'm gonna get kicked right in the pants. It ruins any kind of resale. I have a 5-bedroom old homestead house, the part of the original Pettigrew development, that, I don't know who buys 5-bedroom houses except for people with families or people starting families. And in that case, I can't think of a normal family that would want to move right into a brand new commercial business that, whatever it's used for, has to run the risk of neighborhoods and all that kind of stuff with, be it pets or children or, traffic or bus stops. I mean, I don't know. I mean, based on the fact that the other dispensary uptown runs between 8 to 1,200 people is what I'm told by the manager there in a day. If you take half of that business away, well, that's coming down our way. Well, now we're up to 4, 5, 6, 700 cars coming down our small frontage road.
While they're trying to drop off 3 different children from school.
Right. So, I mean, you got to run that risk along with it. We're going to have the extra lighting. We're going to have security guards. We're going to have all that kind of stuff. I don't think anybody wants to be a prisoner in their own home. Tim talked about maybe extending the privacy fence down and blocking us into our own house.
The reason we haven't run it all the way to the street is because you can't see past it.
Right.
It obstructs the view.
It obstructs the view. We've fought that with the county on the last time when I actually built the fence to where it is now. And I have to say, honestly, that's not his fence to extend. I paid for that. It's on my property. And if that's his solution to block us into our own home, I don't think that's a viable solution. Now, as far as, you know, the business growth and the development of East Dubuque, this person that owns, the person or company or LLC or whatever it may be that has the license for this can open that business anywhere in town. The city's not losing the money. The city's not losing the income. There's lots of buildings that sit empty downtown. There's lots. I've talked to Ron Robertson, who used to own the grocery store down here. He said he would volunteer his building to anybody that wanted to lease it for that purpose. And with that said, the city's not out anything. That person can still open that business here. The town can still develop, and it'll be in a commercial section. And with the housing shortages that we have here in our town, a lot of people would like to develop the town, but without building new, there's not a lot of medium income family homes to be able to rent or to live in or to do that. So to raise a perfectly good residence right now where a nice young family lives with their young daughter, I don't see what the point of that would be to just limit more housing. You know, we don't know what could happen. We don't want the worst to happen. We don't know that it could or that it would. But the day that it does, who's going to pay the cost then? Just the families or the person or who had it, you know, whatever it may be. Whether it's a traffic accident and somebody's family's out a member, or whether it's a small kid coming home from school, or if it's something as small as their dog getting run over by the excess traffic. I mean, somebody's going to have a loss there no matter what the situation is. It doesn't always have to be the worst. As far as, you know, some of the stuff that's going on here, I mean, I feel like it's his, I guess it would be Tim's only way to capitalize on the cannabis industry, considering that he was denied the license and he can't do anything other than to lease the building out, which in that case, I mean, I understand his position that, you know, anytime there's a place to be making money, go ahead. But at the, you know, blatant disregard of the citizens around it, I mean, every person that signed that petition has a home in that area. There's no one that is missing from that. And if every citizen that lives in the area is against it, I don't know how truthfully anybody could pass it. I mean, we're here hoping for the city to do better and to help the people in it. But then when the people are crying out for help, we have to sit here and try to talk about how somebody can get richer and the little guy gets stepped on again. I mean, like I said, I've worked my whole life to get to the point where I'm at now, and to just lose 60% or 25% or whatever the number may be, or however you want to skew it, either way, it's a big loss for me. And it's a big loss for every resident that's there, because based on proximity to the new development, they're all going to lose money on their houses. You know, that doesn't mean that somebody's going to resell every day, but the chance that they do, we got just another story of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer. And I would just ask that, you know, the people on the petition are the ones that are affected. We're the people that are affected on there. And I mean, we're the ones that are trying to fight for our safety, trying to fight for, you know, a good place to live and a quiet neighborhood that we've had. And yeah, we have the liquor store there and they have traffic there, but you know, that's not unreasonable at the moment, but that's also not what it will be with the traffic that we have. I guess my other point with the monetary gain for the city is I feel like just because we add more dispensaries, it doesn't actually add more revenue. I mean, if there's 3 gas stations in a town, most people just go to the one that's easier, the one that's convenient, or the one that's nearest to them or on the way to where they're going. It doesn't mean that they're selling more gas. It just means that everybody had to stop and got some. And I guess that's really where I'm at on it as far as the finances go. The city's not out anything to say yes or no to this deal. I mean, if they say yes, yeah, they have another office down there, but we also have more buildings sitting down here that could be used for other things and could be really, you know, something to boost the downtown economy. I mean, after the bars closed, there's nothing there anymore. And it's just hard to get people in down there because there's nothing around them to draw them in. I mean, I guess what it really comes down to for me is we're the ones that are affected. I mean, can he put a building up there because he owns the property and say, I want to do this and I want to do that? Sure. But when it comes down to it, what about the people that sat there and worked their ass off to get somewhere in life? And then right when you get there, you know, you get told that, well, somebody else is going to go ahead and step on you anyway. You know, we are East Dubuque. Our children go to these schools. I've had one graduate. I've got one starting high school now. We've been involved in sports and fundraisers. And I mean, you name it, we've done it all. Cub Scouts. I mean, we are the people that make up this town, and we're the ones that are asking for your help here. So that said, I just thank you for your time.
Thank you. Are there any opposed comments at this time?
I have a few. Give me a minute. My name is Deanna Jakoniski. I've lived at 7230 Camillus for 39 years. Have put up with a lot of traffic. I've seen more accidents than ever care to think of. I have a list of them here, which I'm not going to go through because we don't need them right now. And the traffic has gotten better over the years, but not real good. And right now, the nights that I sit in my living room, pretty soon here comes the squad car this way, a sheriff that way. I got guys jumping out of cars, running into the woods, running past my front window. So there's still a lot of trouble down there. Might not be a traffic accident. Thank God nobody's gotten killed. I have seen people get killed at that intersection. And it's impossible to live there and do something nice. There's traffic all the time. I go to pull out of the driveway. You can't, because there's a guy coming this way. There's a guy coming down the frontage road. He decides he's not going to stop for this stop sign. He comes through. The guy coming in off the highway, he slams on his brakes. I just got to sit and wait till they all decide, are we going to move? Are we going to do it right? Or are we going to be ignorant to each other and fight the turn? Right now, I sit out in my yard every day. You come down past the mess we have at the end of Camillus, which is enough to put up with, much less more business, more traffic. The traffic doesn't care which way they go. I would welcome any or all of you to come out there and sit and watch what this traffic does. They slide through the stop sign. The stop sign at the frontage road means absolutely nothing. Well, if they slide through that one, then they go right out on 20. My son was there the other day. We're all standing there talking, and he jumped. I said, what's wrong with you? He said, a car just pulled out in front of another one. I mean, they just barely made it. And I said to him, you should remember that happens here all the time. The other night, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago, I can hear police talking. I can see lights flashing. I go out, and they got some gal handcuffed down on the ground, and I don't know what her problem was. But the fire department come out, they handcuffed her. Pretty soon the fire department left, they took her, somebody else took the car. That was all like at 2:30 in the morning. So just because the beer store isn't open, it doesn't mean that it's such a close area to East Dubuque, to Galena. Coming off Pioneer Acres, I mean, if somebody wants to do a report and ask the police officers, how much trouble do you get off Pioneer Acres? Up on Tomahawk and Donna Drive, it's just a steady problems up there. You have people running down past my house. The one day there was someone, they said had a gun when they went running. I don't remember if they ever caught them. You know, I don't hear the ending of it. But we do have to put up with an awful lot already. Putting more traffic into there. I can't say I'm against using the pot. I can't say that. I don't do it, haven't done it. Never had any problem with anybody who did. But to put that right in our neighborhood, alongside Justin and Tara's kids, I've got grandkids and great-grandkids in my yard. Do I want somebody to get teed off over at the dispensary or get thrown out of there because they started a fight or they didn't get what they wanted from the dispensary? I don't know what all questions could come of it. I've never been in one. I don't understand. But I ride by 35 up here enough to know there's a ton of damn traffic. And they're pulling out in front of you up there. Well, if they're doing that there, they're gonna do it up down here on 20 because they're gonna try and beat the traffic coming in from Galena. Because there could be times you might wait for 7, 8 cars before you can leave that stop sign right there at my house. I lived through years ago, traffic, come home one day to a semi in the front yard because some woman ahead of him stopped and he had no choice but to go up in our yard. Came home another day, there's a car rolled over in my front yard, an 8-month pregnant woman sitting in there. They're trying to get her out to get her to the hospital. Another time an elderly woman got hit, someone else's fault, pulling out of there. Not an elderly woman, she's probably 60. She had her mother with her, she was taking her to a doctor appointment. She came in to ask to use the phone so she could call if the appointment was later. She went back, thanked us. She came back in the house, could I use the phone again? My mom just died in the car. Okay, we don't have those series of things, but they were there at one time. And I think adding more business to our very little area, we're a small area down there. Come down there on a Saturday, and I'm not putting down the Family Beer's business. That's what they're in there for. But that traffic on Saturdays and Sundays or before a holiday, it's unreal. And somebody's going to get hurt there again. I know it is. And people pull in. They don't bother to stop, as I said. They'll pull in off the highway and they pull ahead of someone who's coming down the frontage road. We're going to have a bad wreck someday. Then there's the garbage we have in the yard. People throw shit out. It's all got to be picked up. Somebody's got to clean it up. And I will say, when Harry Althouse ran the place, the guys that worked there, the kids, they'd come over and they would pick up all the little wine bottles and whiskey bottles, the cigarette butts, the lottery tickets. Nobody does that anymore. You got to put up with it yourself and clean it up. We work hard to keep our place up. I got 2 neighbors that could give a shit less what the neighbors look like. If I could put a privacy fence 12 foot tall, I would, so I didn't have to look at any of them. But I can't get anything done about those either. County will do nothing out there. I'm in the county. Camillus Drive is in the city of East Dubuque. It was annexed in a long time ago because to get the beer store to put their place in, they had to get annexed into the city because the county wouldn't give them the right of way they wanted. Okay, that went over well. I think it was Mick Mickles that was the manager then, I'm not positive, but his suggestion was, we'll get in the county and we can work with you. And I called the county. He said, nothing will happen, you'll be fine, because I argued with him. I said, my taxes will go up. No, it won't, no, it won't. Well, I called the county and they checked it out for me. Taxes were going to go up a little over $500 a year. I don't know about you guys, but that's a lot of money to me. So we're going to put another business in there when we don't have room for what's there now. The traffic is unreal. You look out my front window, there's cars lined up waiting to go in. It so happens yet somebody pulls in, they don't pay attention to the guy coming in the highway, they're slamming on brakes. That, or people go to turn in and they gotta stop and the guy coming in is in the outside lane, he's gotta get to the inside lane, or he's in the inside, gotta get to the outside because he can't get through otherwise. So there's a lot of things there to think of. The property values are another thing. Check my notes. The safety around our houses is terrible. I mean, I don't want to get up at 2:30 in the morning because there's lights all around my house. I got to be afraid to walk to a window to maybe look out and see what's going on, or to stand back and think, did anybody jump out of one of those cars with a gun and they're running loose around this neighborhood? There's too much there already for the little bit of area. And right now, Justin and Tom and I and Tara are the only ones that seem to care. And if you can't, like Justin said, we've lived there a long time. Justin's done so much to that house over there. It looks better than it did years ago when I lived at Kiefer's and noticed that house. And we work hard on our house. The neighbors don't. We have people that know us. God, how can you stand that mess down the street from you? I don't know. We don't have a choice but to put up with it. they're in the city on that street. The city doesn't take care of the street. That was the agreement. Family Beer was gonna take care of that street so that they could leave their parking lot, which is wide open, should be a curb all along there. It's not. Well, they don't take good care of it. And I can't get the city to come down and fix potholes in it, or they'll come down and throw black whatever in there, and 2 days later, you got the beer trucks going all over it, boom, boom, boom. All right, that's the shit's gone. Now we gotta start over and asking them, could we please get it fixed down here? Can't get that done. The water does not drain. The sewer, what's that thing?
Drainage.
Sewer drainage, thank you. It doesn't go where it's supposed to. It used to come down the frontage road, make the bend, and go down towards where the L&L was. And there was a drain there. Well, when family changed their whole parking lot over, when they got done, it was Hamel, I believe, came and did it. The drain was gone. Now the water just sits there. And all these trucks go back and forth and back and forth. You come out to my house someday when it's raining. Not a heavy rain. You can't get through unless you drive through water. There's water on this side driveway, water on this side, there's water up the street. And I had this troubled city manager that just left, thank God for that. He was gonna come and look at it one day. He suggested we run a drain through from where the water's coming in, out to the ditch beyond our house, to dig up our driveway and alongside our garage and everything. Okay, I wouldn't have these big holes sinking the ground in there if we didn't have beer store trucks and everything, and we've put up with it for years. But we don't need more traffic. We got more than our share of traffic. If you gotta have a dispensary, find another place for it. There's a young woman in town that needed a daycare place. She found room. She's outside of the city limits. She had to go there, but she did. I'd much rather have that 2 houses down from me than a dispensary. I just don't want the strangers and I mean, to me, it's like years ago when we ran the bars. You had good people in the bars and you had people you had to look out for. You had to watch out for them. You didn't know if you wanted them around the area. And I know it's got to be the same thing with this dispensary. So I just think it's going to be pushed too hard. It's hard to say, yeah, maybe it won't happen. It's going to be too late for me to say, I told you so, because it ain't going to do me a bit of good if it does happen. So I'd like everybody to just drive by the house, take a good look at the area, see how close everything is, and then imagine that one of those houses is yours, and you deal with it. So thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments?
I'd actually like to pass out some pictures I had developed. This is the swing my daughter plays on. Our driveway is 20 feet from the new dispensary. That is where my child plays. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want my child to sit on her swing and stare at a pot shop. Thank you.
And she uses it a lot.
If there's no other opposing comments, we can continue. Are there any comments from the zoning board members? Paul?
First of all, are we voting just to change this to a business, or with the idea that a cannabis, if they would get a license, is coming in there?
Well, from my knowledge of the situation is that Tim and Mary that's their intent. Although for the purpose of this here, we are just recommending yes or no to change it from residential to business. We don't know exactly what business is going to go in there as of now.
I'd like
They
to
may-
make a point. I think what we're standing for is we don't think we need any business in there.
Okay,
Keep that in mind.
I get it, but
Changing that means a business comes.
I'm answering this gentleman's question.
I know, but I'm
Okay, as to what our purpose is here. Okay, and I understand that you're frustrated and you have your concerns, you bet.
So if they come back and say it's changed to business, and they come back and say, we got the cannabis license from the state and the county and everything. Now, does the city of East Dubuque have to okay that then?
We would have to have another
Another
zone boarding meeting on that particular property, whatever the consensus is of that building, and we'd have to apply, the city council would have to look at it. I mean, and we'd have to prove it. But first, I mean, the city council would have to approve it, you know? We're only here to vote if it's one way or the other. We're not here to vote for the finalization of it. Now, we can sit here and vote it in, but the city council still has the right to say no. Okay?
So if I could, I'm Bob Seitz. I'm
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm the interim city manager and the zoning administrator. So I can tell you that we have received here no paperwork that would indicate, the use of the property, with the exception of the mention of it in the document that you have in front of you. So there's nothing for us to look at as far as what the use would be once it's rezoned. And all we have before us is whether or not it's reasonable to rezone this property from residential to commercial.
I have a question too. Okay, so when I did take a drive down, and I drive past there quite often just because I have to go to work that way. My biggest concern too would be if we did put it to a commercial property, what's going to happen to that frontage road and the traffic? That's up to the city, I'm assuming, to kind of look at some of that, or is that a county road? Is that a city road? I mean, who's going to be responsible? Because I agree, because I know Family Beer's there already, and even if we didn't put it to a commercial, if we voted on that, my concern would still be the traffic. What's going to happen to that road? Just because there are kids, and there's residents that have kids that go to school and get picked up on the bus.
The frontage road is part of the U.S. highway.
Okay?
And so it is a federal responsibility, so federal responsibilities are managed by the state.
So it'll be DOT. Okay.
Excuse me?
So there's no plan for the frontage road in the event this does happen?
Because it's not in your jurisdiction, correct? So
The city takes care of the frontage. All the way up to Donna Drive.
Can't under contract this.
Yeah, but also too, there's no plan for that particular road because there's no plan for additional business either. So I mean, you understand where we're at?
Well, let's back up steps to when the other guy was here, can't mention his name, I don't like him.
Oh,
Tim Fleur looked right at him one day and he goes, how's this going with that cannabis place dispensary? He said, down by Highway 20. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And Tim said, well, I heard. He just left it at that. So we've been told for months now that there's nothing going in there. But there's been talk about it, and so it leaked out and we caught on. Otherwise, we wouldn't have known anything.
We're not saying there's nothing going on down there, and I think the owners have been very clear about what their intent is. I'm saying that the city, from our legal perspective, we have to deal with what's in front of us, and this is what's in
That
front
was
of
just
us.
my question.
And we
If it
also
did become-
have a debate.
yeah.
it was going to change from residential to commercial, that would be a concern I would have, is that road would have to be revamped enough to handle any business. I don't care what's going in there. It's just the fact of just that traffic right there, because it could be heavy. So no matter what goes in there.
Well, I guess in light of that too, I mean, we could always pose a question to the DOT or the state.
Yes.
You know, if they can look at that particular spot and make some changes to address those concerns. I mean, I agree that the stop sign down there for lack of a better word, sucks. Yeah, it always has. I mean, but, yeah, and the frontage road needs work. That's my concern too. You know, you have a lot of traffic. They have a great business. They probably have, 300,000, customers a year. I mean, I think it's a reasonable question that they're asking to do it for business. It's not out of the question, but there are other concerns that we have to look at.
So if we're all on the same page that the traffic on the frontage road is poor, would you really think adding another business is going to improve conditions?
I didn't say it was poor. I said it's adequately handling what the situation is now, but there may be duress, but that's something that'll have to be looked at. We're just here to add and see if there's going to be a business or not, whether we vote for it tonight or at a different time. But we haven't gotten that part where I'm trying to get other input from other people here too on the board.
So I'd ask, we're under the comments from the zoning board.
Yeah. We're out of the comments from the zoning board still. Anybody else?
So if I get this right, assuming we change it to business and they want to put in a cannabis, the state has to okay the license, the county has to okay the license, and then lastly, East Dubuque has to okay the license. Is that correct?
Yes. We have to issue a special use permit.
All three places would have to okay it.
Oh, yeah, this is, yeah.
But we can't wait till it's done and then say, oh, should have said this, should have said that.
Any other comments?
I do have one question.
Yeah.
Did the people from the county, did they say why a second business would destroy property value versus, there's a big one right there, a smaller one coming in. Did they say why two?
Because it's exactly next door and our driveway's only 20 feet apart, so there's no way to lock that in privately. Also, when I built my privacy fence to where it is now, the previous neighbor that owned the house, Kelsner's, went down to the county and said that that was already unsafe for him to be able to pull on and off the highway, so that's not a viable option either. They already told them that, no, if I built it any further than that, then they would ask me to take it back down. So it's not a viable option.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question then. Did your property taxes, did your house get valued more when the L&L changed from business to residential? That was the L&L hotel, was a rental business.
This is an opportunity for the zoning board discussion. This is an opportunity for the zoning board discussion.
Yeah, this is a zoning board discussion and not, I know we fielded all your questions prior. We need to to move on here too. Sorry. We're at if there are no more questions from the zoning board. Okay, so we have down to staff report and recommendations from zoning administrator.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. As I said, I'm Bob Seitz. I'm the interim city administrator and the zoning administrator. So we've looked at this and members of the board and for public observance, we've put out these documents, number of maps of the area. The points I would go through, first off, this is a rezoning decision based upon this one parcel of land and looking at the use of it versus the uses in that region and what the best use is from the perspective of the city of East Dubuque. And so from that, looking at what is in front of us, which isn't a proposal for a specific business or anything like that, my recommendation is in favor of the rezoning. The reasons with frontage on U.S. highway and commercial properties up and down that road, this use makes sense It was zoned for commercial when it was a motel, and it would be going back to that use. Even behind the property is commercial development. On the other side of the neighboring parcels, you have commercial development on both sides. So that's what the map is intended to show, is that you look at this map, it's a little hard to read, but the location is here. The purple is industrial zoning, and the pink is commercial. So this is not a use that is outside the spec of what is in the area. Cities, of course, this is recently annexed. Cities have a much different interest than townships. In this case, city services are much greater than are offered in townships generally, and that is partially to serve business, which people want to have in their areas, and it's also because commercial businesses can pay the higher costs involved in those higher services. So the use for the city, we think, is appropriate. The current ownership are business people in the community that have been good city citizens for nearly a half century. They've been successful in the adjoining parcel in terms of the location of the parcel. You have a driveway onto the frontage road, which we've discussed, and on one of the two most heavily traveled highways in the region. These are ideal places for commercial businesses that generate revenue and jobs and tax revenue for the city and help to defray the costs of water and sewer and the other services the city offers. The property is bounded on a couple sides by the Althaus family. On the front, obviously, by the frontage road to the U.S. highway, and on one side by residential. The residential property next door has commercial property behind it. So the dominant use in the area is commercial and industrial. And in terms of parking, which is another one of the factors mentioned in our code, it's a significant factor to be looked at, but it's not a factor that we can look at this point in time because we don't have a proposal in front of us and we don't know what what buildings will be proposed for the area. But I would point out that there's no evidence that there was inadequate parking on this property when it was commercially used in the past. As to property values, we had the same sorts of questions regarding impacts on property values. I called the city assessor, and the city assessor informed me that she could not give any indication of what would happen to property values on adjoining properties. And I think that's particularly important because there is already commercial property and development around, and it's already fronting a U.S. highway. So those would be factors that would, kind of bake in any impact of commercial development in the area around this because there's so much commercial development already around the area. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
I have questions. That's all right. You say it's all commercial properties around it, but there's 7 houses in the row that are all county, that are all residential, all zoned residential. You can't, because there's one business there, it doesn't mean there's 20 businesses there. And as far as his point earlier about future business development, well, that's all in the county and it's already pre-zoned residential. So I don't understand where you're saying all these businesses are commercial because the undeveloped land behind us that you're saying could be zoned commercial is not actually developable land. So I don't understand where you're saying that this is zoned commercial when it's nothing but residential except for one commercial property.
Points noted,
Do you want me to answer those?
if you'd like.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that in the adjoining property, your property, there's a residential next to that, then there's commercial. When you go behind it, there's what used to be Bittersweet, and the residential property up the hill. I know, I said behind, sir.
It's not even adjoining, it's not even connected. There's not even a path, it's 2.5 miles away.
The traffic for the motel, that was only a 9-unit motel, that's 9 cars.
So,
It's not as the crow flies, what's behind me is undeveloped land that's still owned by Donna to this day. And it's zoned residential, because she's actively selling it.
I didn't say there wasn't residential property behind. I said that there's a dominant use in the area. I said a dominant use in the area, and that's what our map shows. And that across the highway is industrial, and you have commercial throughout the area.
The highway is ag. You can't say the majority of the property is commercial when there's one commercial property and 12 houses. I'm sorry, my math might be fucked up, but I'm asking you.
Hey, use of language is inappropriate. Sorry. Okay. And we're here to answer your questions too. We're not going to get an argument.
It's facts. There's nothing.
Question and answer session is over. Okay, we're moving on. Zone and ordinance sections, any amendments to the ordinance? Is there, do we need
This
to,
would be the amendment.
right? Okay, that's what you
Zoning.
meant, okay.
This would be a vote on this.
All right, so we move on to, do we want to discuss a possible action and recommendation to city council at this point? We can discuss the possible action to approve the rezoning application for Marion Tim at this time, and I guess it's time for a roll call for a vote.
Kale. Largent.
Yes?
Lechner.
Yes.
Pearson.
I'm going to say yes, on contingent of us looking into, talking to the DOT in regards to it becoming a commercial about the frontage road, if that makes sense.
Redmond.
I thought
Oh.
you made the motion.
I made the motion, I'm sorry, there wasn't a second.
Second.
Is there a second to continue for a roll call for
Motion to
vote?
approve the rezoning application.
Pardon me?
Your motion was to
To approve the rezoning.
Did we have a second?
Yeah.
And then do roll call again.
Kale. Largent.
Yes?
Lechner.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes, with the contingent about the DOT.
Redmond. Taylor.
Yes.
Is there any other business? Good, pardon me?
Declare pass.
Is declared passed, yes, at this time.
And that'll go to the city council.
It'll move to the city council. And obviously, they'll look at it, you know, with due concern. Thank you very much. This meeting's adjourned. Right.
Yeah, we need.
Motion to adjourn?
Sorry, no, we need a motion and.
Okay.
And a roll call.
So motion to adjourn?
Yep. Second it.
All right.
Okay.
Forget about the.
Largent.
part.
Yes?
Lechner.
Yes.
Pearson.
Yes.
Redmond. Taylor.
Forget about that.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Probably his first one in a
Most popular.
Well, that's, next, you know, can we limit? You know, some of them are not
Yeah, they.
over and over.